What did your parents teach you about life, money, and finding a career? Did they tell you you should go to school, study hard, and get a good job afterwards? Probably. Believe it or not, though, that's not actually great advice, but it is what most parents tell their kids, and most school teachers too. No need to fret, though, most of us had the same experience. We're never taught what you need to know to get and stay rich. But that information does exist. Rich families pass it down from generation to generation. But how do you get access to it? It begins in the 1950s. Robert and his friend Mike were curious boys with big ambitions. When they grew up, they wanted to become rich and make a lot of money. But just how they were going to accomplish that they didn't actually know. They asked their dads how they could start becoming rich. You might be able to guess what Robert's own well-educated but poor dad replied: go to school, study, and find a good job. It's familiar advice, but it's pretty misguided. If you follow guidance like this, you'll spend your entire life breaking your back to increase your pay, while others, the government, bill collectors, and your bosses, take most of the reward. But there are some people who don't teach that mantra to their kids, people who know how money is created, increased, and maintained. Rich people, in other words, people like Mike's father, the rich dad who became a financial mentor to both boys. So what did Mike's dad suggest? At first, nothing. He made a deal with the young Kiyosaki, offering to teach him what he knew about money if the boy would work for him at the measly rate of 10 cents an hour. Robert agreed, but after a few weeks of being underpaid, the boy returned to his rich dad, seething with anger and ready to quit. You've exploited me long enough, he said, and you haven't even kept your promise. You taught me nothing about money in all those weeks, but there it was, his first lesson, delivered by his new mentor with a slight smile. Robert Kiyosaki had just learned that life often pushes you around. And he'd learned that working for money does not make you rich. Which is why rich people don't work for money. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. When we left off, Robert was still just a kid, and the word asset didn't belong in his vocabulary. But Mike's dad, the rich dad, was about to change all that. One day he sat the boys down and explained to them that the rich buy assets, whereas the less well-off buy liabilities, often in the mistaken belief that it is, in fact, assets they're acquiring. In truth, he explained, an asset is anything that adds money to your wallet. A liability, on the other hand, is something that takes money away. This differentiation is very important, and not many people get it right. So let's look at an example. A house is often considered an asset, right? But actually, it's one of the biggest liabilities you can have. Buying a house often means working your entire life to pay off a 30-year mortgage and property taxes, meaning it takes money out of your wallet. The rich become rich by making their money work for them, instead of spending all their income on fripperies and luxuries. They invest a portion of it in assets of various types. And then, rather than working for money, they let their assets make money for them. No one's telling you to quit your day job, not yet, at least. What Kiyosaki does stress, though in his third lesson, is the importance of minding your own business. Now, that doesn't mean keeping your nose out of other people's lives, not in this context. It simply means tending to your own finances, and making money also for yourself, not only your employer. In other words, minding your own business means making money through your portfolio of assets rather than through promotions, bonuses and raises, When it comes to personal finances, though, there's a difference between your profession and your business. Your profession is whatever you do 40 hours a week to pay the bills, buy groceries, and cover other living costs. Usually, it gives you a specific title such as restaurant owner or sales manager. Your business, on the other hand, is what you invest time and money in to help grow your assets. One of the tools that the rich use to shelter themselves from tax is the corporation. A corporation is allowed to spend pre-tax dollars, after all, and is only taxed on what remains after expenses. Individuals, on the other hand, are taxed first, and only then are they allowed to spend the remainder. It's an important distinction. Imagine if you were only taxed on the part of your salary you didn't spend. By shielding their assets using corporations, the rich can avoid paying tax like the middle classes and the poor do. Children aren't taught about subjects like saving or investing, and as a consequence are clueless about topics like compound interest. Clear proof of this is the fact that, today, even high schoolers often max out their credit cards. This lack of training in financial intelligence is a problem not only for today's youth but also for highly educated adults, many of whom make poor decisions with their money. Think about it, most people completely lack a retirement plan. In the United States, 50% of the workforce are without pensions. And of the rest, nearly 75 to 80% have ineffective pensions. Well, clearly, society has left us poorly equipped in terms of financial knowledge. But getting financially literate is one of Kiyosaki's key lessons. So what do? Educate yourself. And start establishing a financial strategy. The first step is to take an honest look at your current financial state. With your current job, what kind of income can you realistically expect now and in the future, and what kind of expenses can you sustainably handle? You may find that the new Mercedes you've been drooling over simply isn't affordable right now. Remember, be honest. And don't consider money you don't have. After this, you can set realistic financial goals. You could say that you want that Mercedes to be within your reach in 5 years' time. Kiyosaki's wife Kim waited 4 years and eventually bought her Mercedes from earnings from their apartment buildings. Alright, the next step is to then start building your financial intelligence. Consider this an investment into the greatest asset available to you, your mind. Learn how to deal with money. The biggest change you most likely need to make is learning to take risks. In the real world, it's often not the intelligent who get ahead, it's the daring. Call it what you want, chutzpah, guts, audacity. Being brave enough to take risks is something the rich all have in common. Why? Well, if you don't conquer fear, you'll allow great opportunities in life to pass you by. That's why the studious and the intelligent often struggle financially. Their fear of society's disapproval prevents them from leaving the rat race and growing wealthy. And their fear of losing money is so powerful it prevents them from investing in stocks or other assets. They fail to appreciate that success always takes guts. Financial intelligence allows the rich to invent money in any situation. They're able to spot opportunities, they know how to respond to them, and they have the daring to follow through. From the outside, it looks like they're just lucky, but in fact, they're creating their own luck. First of all, taking risks means not always being balanced and safe with your money, which is what you're doing when you put it in basic checking and savings accounts at the bank. Instead of playing it safe, try investing your money in stocks or bonds. While these are considered more risky than typical bank accounts, they have the chance of generating much more wealth. Sometimes, as is the case with stocks, this can happen in a very short period of time, or, if you don't want to commit yourself to the stock market. There are a number of other investments that will help grow your wealth in the long run. Take real estate or so-called tax lien certificates. With tax lien certificates, interest rates range between 8% and 30%, much higher than 0.21%, which was the average savings account interest rate for America in 2013. When Robert graduated from college, he landed a steady and well-paying job almost immediately. For most people, it would have been a dream come true, and that's exactly how his educated but poor dad saw it. I mean, we already know it. Poor dad saw a secure career and persistent work as the only surefire way to grow wealthy, not rich dad, though, and not Robert either. After about 6 months, he quit his job and joined the Marine Corps to learn how to fly. His poor dad was bewildered, but his rich dad congratulated him. Why? Not because he encouraged recklessness, but because he understood exactly what Robert was doing. He wasn't trying to make a steady salary, he was trying to learn. He was searching for work with something useful to teach him. His rich dad had drilled it into him. Knowing a little about a lot was important for anyone who wanted to make money. That's why Robert was working to learn, not just to earn. After all, making money was what his assets would be for. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and stay tuned for more book discussions.